An increasing number of prospective newlyweds are seriously considering and executing the signing of a prenup before they walk down the aisle and tie the knot. These agreements aren't simply for the wealthy and powerful, according to CNN Business. More than 62% of divorce attorneys say that they're seeing a significant uptick in millennials taking the plunge and signing on a dotted line before they commingle with their partner to protect all of their premarital assets. This, according to a 2019 study by the American Academy of Matrimonial Lawyers. Raymond Hekmat is a seasoned family law attorney who specializes in collaborative prenuptial agreements. He believes that prenups are the foundation to a healthy, strong, and long-lasting marriage, and they serve as a conduit to have those important but sometimes uncomfortable conversations about money that he believes every couple should have before tying the knot. He joined me this week to have a real and unfiltered conversation about family, divorce, and marriage. I'm Kevin McShann. Let's have this conversation. So Raymond, if you're ready, I'll take a moment to welcome you to the program, and I'm super excited to talk to you all about family law matters today. Great to see you, and thanks so very much for being here.
Great to see you, and thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, and I know that you help people get real as it comes to having conversations about divorce, family, and marriage. So I'm wondering if you can tell me about all the great work that you do.
Yeah, so my practice is specialized in divorce consulting, mediation, and doing prenuptial and postnuptial agreements for my clients. And so a lot of my work is empowering my clients in learning about the law, understanding how it impacts them in the divorce process, and giving them ownership of the process. So it's a lot of the times, rather than being an attorney representing and speaking on their behalf, I'm giving them the tools they need to navigate through the divorce process or the mediation process on their own, and achieving the goals that they want to achieve on their own.
Yeah, fabulous. And you tell me that you think a prenup is a good foundational piece for a happy, healthy, and prosperous marriage, and it leads to having good conversations about money when it comes to marriage. So tell me, why do you think prenups are a good thing when it comes to men?
Yeah, absolutely. So when two people get married, there are laws that go into place whether they like it or not. So in California, we live in a community property state. And so when you get married, there are laws that impact your finances from before marriage as well as during marriage. And a lot of people don't have the conversations about what their marriage is going to look like financially. Like a business, getting married is a partnership. And in many ways, it's a financial partnership. So the conversations that people need to have before they get married, specifically in regard to money, are super important in order to build that foundation of understanding of how their marriage is going to work, how are they going to work together in achieving their joint goals, their separate goals, and just having an understanding of what their expectations are of each other, whether it's How much are you making? How much do you expect to make during our marriage? Do you expect to continue working? Do you not want to work? Uh, how do we see our joint finances to work together or not? These are all conversations that are so important for people to have before marriage, because as a divorce attorney, I found that a lot of people never had those conversations before they get married, and that's where a lot of the trouble arises while they're married, because certain things may come up that they may not have ever talked about before.
And I know that one of the things that really excites you and gets you out of bed in the morning is working with couples as they sort of navigate this process from a financial perspective. So I'm curious to ask you about the benefits of signing a prenup before marriage and why you enjoy so much working with couples in this capacity.
Yeah, so as I said, when people get married, we have they already have a prenup. It's called California law. And when we work with couples in building their own laws for their own marriage, they're able to educate themselves on what that law is and whether or not they want to opt into California law or if they want to create their own law that is specific to their own marriage. Um, I find that when people create their own laws and they have that opportunity to create that law of what their marriage is going to look like financially, they're able to navigate in marriage much easier and with a better understanding of whether we have what's joint, what is separate, what are we going to be doing together, what are the things that we have to do together, what are the things that we don't. And it also provides some financial autonomy during the marriage for those people that want to have that autonomy during marriage to just do what they want for themselves. And I personally believe that financial autonomy during the marriage is also very important.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we look at, getting married is traditionally a very exciting time, and nobody ever thinks they're going to get divorced, right? But
Of course.
the numbers that say differently. So when you are entering or prior to entering into a marriage, what are some of the legal and financial questions you think couples should be asking themselves?
Yeah, so first thing is I think there should be conversations of what are the expectations of each other during marriage. What do you expect to share together? What do you expect? Where do you expect to live? If we're buying a house together, do you expect this home to be joint property? Or if only one person is paying for it, is it going to be that person's property? Um, Also, conversations of how much money do you make? How much what is our livelihood going to look like? What are our daily expenses going to look like? So having those conversations of financial expectations before you get married are really important to kind of set that foundation of understanding. And as I said, the second thing is conversation of whether or not you want to opt into California community property law and what comes with that, or do we want to take this opportunity to create our own law? In California, we don't have many opportunities to create your own law. Your lives are dictated by the laws of the state. But getting married and getting a prenup is a really special opportunity because you are allowed to create your own laws that are really, really important to you and your partner and that are specific to your relationship. Obviously, you can't agree to certain things that may be against public policy or promote divorce, but that provides a really, really strong opportunity to create those laws for each other. And I think that through that conversation, you have a better understanding of what to expect during the marriage. And the third thing is, I think there should be some questions and conversations about what is it that marriage means to you? For some people, marriage means growing together financially, building something financially. It may mean having children together. It may mean not having children. It may be having certain separate opportunities or separate income or keeping some separate money to yourself. So again, having those conversations about what does marriage mean to you is also really, really important for someone to have before they get married.
Yeah, and Raymond, tell me, When you meet with couples for the first time and they're sort of hesitant to begin this conversation, what are some good icebreakers that couples can sort of implement in order to begin these conversations?
Yeah, so it's funny you ask that because on my website I have this talking money guide, and it's a packet of conversation starters for couples to have about money before they get married. And what happens is that a lot of those icebreakers really have nothing to do with prenuptial agreements. They have to do with money. But sometimes, as Esther Perel says, conversations or fights about money are usually not about the money. It's about what is our relationship with money. Growing up, how did we see money dealt with in our family? Who was in charge of the money? Who spent the money? How was the money spent? Are we spenders or are we savers? What are things that we like to spend our money on? You know, these are the conversations or the icebreakers that kind of lead into, okay, well, if you like to spend all of your money and I like to save all of our money, how do we navigate those differences in opinion during our marriage? But I do have a talking money guide on my website, and it's available for purchase. And I find that a lot of people really enjoy going through those conversations. And look, conversations about money are always going to be uncomfortable. But just like an athlete, practicing and training is going to make it a lot easier during the marriage. And having those conversations before you get married really prepares you to continue having those conversations while you're married, rather than avoiding it at all costs because they're really uncomfortable, but then you're going to end up having them anyway. Because, again, when you get married, conversations about money happen almost on a daily basis.
Indeed, it's sort of like the engine that starts the car, right?
Right, exactly.
Absolutely. And Raymond, I'm curious to ask you about when you talk about building consensus during a marriage or before you enter into it. What does building consensus mean to you personally, and how do you define that term when we look at marriage, entering into a marriage? What does that mean to you?
Yeah, so there are a lot of people that get married that don't absolutely agree on many, many issues, and that's okay. That's you don't want to marry someone that is exactly like you to the T in every possible way. When you marry someone, you're marrying someone for who they are, for what they stand for, and it may be very different than what is important to you in your life. But that's where those conversations come in, and trying to find a place of compromise and understanding of where your partner is coming from, and being open to those ideas. What we talk about a lot of times I mean, I've gone through couples therapy or premarital counseling, and my clients have done as well. A lot of the time, somebody says, "Well, you may not give a shit about what somebody else gives a shit about, but in a marriage, it's really important to give a shit about what your partner gives a shit about." And that's where you want to go with. If there's something that your partner is really, truly interested in their life, it's really, really vital to show interest in that as well. Doesn't mean you have to do it. Doesn't mean that it has to be a part of your life. But it's important as partners to show that interest in what your partner does. And for me, that's what that consensus may mean. It may not mean full agreement, but it means coming to an understanding of what is important to your partner and trying to give that to them during your marriage.
Yeah, and for you personally, when you define a successful marriage, what are your top three principles that you think any successful marriage must have?
Well, absolutely. Number one is communication. Communication about absolutely everything that arises during a marriage. And some people always ask me, what's the number one cause of divorce in California or the US? And is it infidelity? Is it money matters? Is it family? And I usually tell them, well, yes, but it's the communication or lack thereof of those issues. So communication is really, really, I think, number one. Continuing those conversations, talking about things when things come up, having those sit down conversations, having weekly or monthly or quarterly meetings about money, about family, about anything that really impacts your life and your family's life. Number two, on just a personal level, it's really important to keep dating. Keep that excitement alive in your marriage. Understand that we are people that grow, we change over time. Show that interest. Go out on dates, do interesting stuff together. I find that that kind of keeps things from getting from the relationship plateauing. Obviously, it's really hard when you have children and your time takes over in the daily grind. But dating is also really, really important to continue during marriage. And and the third thing I would say is dedicating time to personal growth, dedicating time to what makes you happy as an individual. Because if you're able to dedicate that time to yourself and become a happy individual and grow on your own, you're going to be a better partner, you're going to be a better father or mother, you're going to rise to the occasion when necessary, when you're taking care of yourself in the way that you need it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And Raymond, tell me, I know you also help people through the divorce process. So if a couple has exhausted all of their remedies to try and save the marriage, and they can't do it, and they have to enter the new world of divorce, when you enter that world, what are some of the questions you have to ask yourself from a financial and personal perspective as you enter this new world?
Yeah, so I think the first thing is, I mean, I don't know if there would be questions to ask yourself, but things to recognize. One is, especially if you have children, if your relationship may have ended, it may not have worked out the way that you had planned. But when you have children, you're going to continue being a parent and you're going to continue being a co-parent with your partner pretty much for the rest of your children's lives. So coming to the realization that even though our relationship hasn't worked out the way we want it to, we are going to be partners in raising these children, whether we like it or not, goes a really, really long way. And it goes a long way in minimizing the collateral damage to your children going through a divorce and allows you to really focus on the children and what they need during that time and being a better parent. Um, I also think that it's really, really important to seek the advice and the help and the support you need during the divorce process. Whether it's with an attorney or a divorce consultant on the legal side, going to therapy or hiring a divorce coach to help you through the process on the emotional side, or even a financial advisor to talk about how you're going to manage your money post-marriage. There's a lot of people that when they were married, they weren't in charge of the finances. They never looked at bank statements. They didn't really know how money was invested or what they were going to do with their money. So bringing on a financial advisor once the assets are divided and you need to know how you're going to be self-supporting, bringing on a financial advisor can be really, really important for that. And the last thing is, I would say that the same way everyone's relationship is different, everyone's divorce is very different. Don't compare yourself to other people. Don't compare yourself to other divorces. I have so many people call me and say, well, my friend got a divorce and this is what she got and this is how it looked like. Every case is different. And I would say that you need to keep yourself from comparing yourself to other people and minimize your communications with family and friends about your divorce. Take their advice with a grain of salt. You have to do what is right for you, and only you know what that is because you're the one that's in it.
Yeah, absolutely. And part of the work that you do, I'm sure that you believe that signing a prenup before marriage can certainly alleviate some of these concerns. So tell me about the advantages of a prenup and why, or some of the misconceptions that you see that you try to dispel when people talk about prenuptial agreements?
Yeah, so there's a lot of myths about prenups, about how they can ruin a relationship. I mean, that's the number one thing, that it's not romantic. Why are we dealing with this right now? We're in this loving stage of our life. Why are we talking about this? And I have to say that I actually believe that prenups can be romantic and then they can create intimacy because you're having really specific conversations about money and about how you're going to live your life together. And and you're going to be sharing some intimate moments with your partner throughout your life, and this is one of them. Talking about money is one of them. Um, I also believe that prenups are really important because, as we said, they lay that foundation and they start those conversations so that you can have them during marriage in a much easier fashion with more understanding and carry on the communication. And that prenup is always modifiable. It's a living document. It can change as much as your life changes while you're married. And it just sets some boundaries and some guidelines on how your money matters are going to be handled during marriage. Now, in the event of divorce, if things don't work out, yes, it eases the property division. It eases some issues that many people litigate over because you've already decided how they're going to be handled. And a prominent family law attorney always said, if I told you that it was raining bowling balls outside and I offered you a helmet, wouldn't you want to wear one? And it's the same thing. 50% of marriages end in divorce one way or another. A prenup can act as a helmet, as a way to ease the pain in dividing assets and allow you to focus on what is really important, your emotional well-being, moving on in your life, new relationships, focusing on your children, and really putting that energy and effort into the more important things rather than spending your time fighting in court, which brings a whole mess of other collateral damage and costs a ton of money.
Yeah, and Raymond, tell me, why are you so passionate about the work that you do personally? What gets you out of bed every morning to do this work?
Yeah, so you know, I used to be a litigation attorney, and I would fight on behalf of my clients. I would be going to court, and we would be fighting and fighting and fighting, and I really didn't see any benefit for me or my clients. There was never a winning situation. There was always someone that was losing, and I didn't see that that was benefiting our community. I didn't see that it was benefiting families. So when I shifted over to being a consultant and empowering my clients to take control of their lives, I really saw those benefits. I saw that people really, really understood that they can control this process. They can achieve their goals on their own, and they can have that power to do what is right for them. And I love doing that. On the marriage side, I want to see people in happy marriages. I want to see happy families. I believe that we can have happier communities if we have happy families. And I think that the prenup process, or even just the conversations about money before getting married, really, really provide that strong foundation for happier marriages. And in turn, we can have happier communities as well.
Yeah, and tell me, Raymond, when you look at your own personal and professional legacy, how do you want that to be defined?
Um, I'd like it to be defined as someone who has helped people in their lives, whether it's in the happy part of their lives or a difficult part of their lives, but helping them move to the next chapter of their lives in a better place than they were before. And and giving them those tools to enter that next chapter with confidence and with happiness.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Raymond, when you're not working, I know you live out there in LA, buddy. So tell me, what do you like to do to let your hair down, bud?
Well, I'm a ex-college tennis player, so I play a lot of tennis. I spend time with my family. I have two sons and a beautiful wife, and we spend a lot of time together. And I dedicate my time to my family as much as I can. It's one of the benefits of working on my own, that I get to set aside time to be with my family and do those things with my kids in the middle of the week if I need to. and always be home for dinner and spend time with my family. So those are the things that really make me happy.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, Raymond, I originally went to school to become a sports reporter, so I can relate to the athletic side of you for sure, my friend. So,
Oh yeah, the sports are absolutely imperative to my life. Uh, I entering back into competitive sport, not just playing for fun, but actually being competitive and playing matches has really, really helped me. And it's been a part that I've missed for a really long time. But there's a lot that comes with that competitiveness, especially in tennis when you're entirely on your own and trying to navigate through a match and trying to fix things and adjust. It really transfers over into my daily life as well.
yeah, absolutely. And Raymond, I'm going to ask you this next question and ask you to put your litigation hat back on, my friend. You know, next month is National Disability Employment Awareness Month. And one of the reasons I'm so passionate about that, my friend, is that I was born with cerebral palsy, and I work with businesses to help them increase the amount of people with disabilities that they hire. So when you look at the word inclusion as it relates to the workplace, how do you think we can incorporate more folks with disabilities into the world of work?
Well, I think that the focus on the ability rather than disability can really open up how we can include people in the workplace, and looking at what are the things that anyone can offer our business and helping us achieve our goals, and at the same time allowing others to have fulfilling lives in the workplace. And I think everyone has the ability to contribute to our business one way or another. And I think that focus on the ability is really what the inclusion should be focusing on.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, my final question for you this afternoon has to do with, you know, if someone wanted to become a family law attorney and really devote their career to that, how do you think, or what questions should they be asking themselves before they enter this line of work?
Well, I think the first thing to ask yourself is whether you're able and available to uh, deal with people going through a very, very emotional time in their lives. As a family law attorney, I would say about 70% of my job is being a therapist, even though I'm not licensed to be one. But you're going to spend a lot of your time listening to people and listening to what they're going through and trying to help them. And a lot of the advice I give may not be even legal advice. So that's a big part of my job that I really truly love. And if someone's looking to get into family law, that's going to be a big part of what they're going to be doing as well. Another question I think they should be asking themselves is whether of what kind of family law attorney do they want to be. There are some cutthroat bulldog attorneys that dedicate their lives on litigation and advocacy and fighting for what their clients want, even if it may be entirely unreasonable. And then there are other family law attorneys that really want to help, that want to guide their clients down the right path. And the only way you learn about how you want to do that is working with different types of attorneys, understanding how family law works, understanding how family law lawyers practice law, and understanding what is right for you. A lot of times I tell people, go to the courthouse, spend some time in the courthouse, watch attorneys, and see what are the different styles of attorneys and how they work. And that can give you a better idea of what you want to bring into your practice, or more importantly, what you don't want to bring into your practice.
Yeah, absolutely. And finally, tell me if people want to get connected with you and all the great work that you do, what's the best way they can do that?
Yeah, so my website is hekmatfamilylaw.com, and you can find all my contact information in there. I also have there's a page on my website with Prenup resources where we have all of our blogs and downloadable content to learn more about the prenup process, prepare yourself for the prenup process, have those important conversations with your friends. And you can find all that information on my website, hekmatfamilylaw.com.
Fabulous, Raymond. Well, I really want to thank you for an engaging and thought-provoking conversation about everything family law, my friend. Your work in the space and time on my behalf is most appreciated, and I want to thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me. It was great speaking with you.